Alright guys, the pieces we need for the Zenaida backpack are, it may look like there's a lot of pieces here, but they're really, once you sew them in pairs, there's not very many. Okay, so you have your front slip pocket, and you have a lining for that. So once you sew that together, that'll be one. You have your other front zip pocket, your front slip pocket, and you have a lining for that. Then that'll be one. And then we're going to sew this here, and then that'll be one. These are our inside slip pocket and inside zipper pocket. This is our zipper, inside zipper. This is the outside zipper for the top of the backpack, and I'm going to do a double pull on mine. These are for the zipper pieces, zipper strap, I think is what they call them. So there's 4 of them. I have all of my sunflower fabric backed with woven fuse 2. We have 2 pockets that go down the side of the backpack. There's the outside. These are the lining pieces. These are the gussets, outside piece, inside piece, the lining piece, and the outside. These are our rectangle ring connectors, and what this is a 2-inch piece of leather folded in half. I drew a line down the center, put some double-sided tape, and folded it into the center. And these are going to be our strap connectors. You need 2 of them. Okay, so for our main body pieces, you need a front and a back, and I'm going to use this leather. And on the back, I have fused on Decaville light. Now, with the leather, you got to be very easy when you fuse on anything, when you put heat on it at all. So I put a Teflon sheet down and just used my heat press at 315 degrees, but I just put it on there and picked it up, put it on there, picked it up, put it on there, picked it up, just until, like, I just kept repeating that until it stuck. Also too though, even if it's not stuck, which mine is, but if yours doesn't get stuck good enough, we're going to put the handles on it and sew it on so it'll be sewed down. And I've done that for the back of both of my front and back pieces. And then you need 2 lining pieces, front and back. Let's talk about hardware before we do that. You're going to need some of this 1/2 inch wide bias tape, because the inside of it, we're not going to turn this bag inside out. We're going to put a binding on it. It's not as hard as you think, guys. It's pretty easy. I'm going to take you step by step how to do it. So you need this 1/2 inch wide bias tape. And mine is double folded bias tape. There's my label. You're going to need 2 rectangle rings, 2 sliders, 1 magnetic snap and the washers and all that go with it, 2 washers, a magnetic female and magnetic male. And I found this pretty bee at Hobby Lobby today. Let's see if you can see it. Pretty bee at Hobby Lobby, and I'm going to use that on the top of my magnetic snap just to give it a little bit of character. Okay, that's the hardware, that's everything. Okay, for our handles, what this is a 4-inch wide piece of leather. Again, just like I did these, I drew a line down the center, folded them in half to the center like this. But this is 2 inches and this one's 4 inches, so I folded it again. So there's 4 layers of leather here. And then I just sewed 3/8 of an inch on both sides for both of the handles. Okay, for the straps, I saved one so I could sew it with you. For the straps, these are the same way as the handles, except for they're sewed 1/8 of an inch on either side of the handle. So I'm going to sew this one with you. Let's get this out of the way. I'm just going to sew 1/8 of an inch down both sides of this. These are the straps. 1/8 of an inch for me is right on the inside part of my foot there. You can use these seam guides and put it here if you want. Line it up like that. Oh, my foot's hitting it. Let me scoot it down some. There you go. I'm going to take your time here, especially because I'm using a contrasting thread, so mine's gonna show pretty good. That's okay. That's what I wanted it to do. I don't want to put detail in there and you not be able to see it. And now I'm going to go down the other side. I didn't sew across the ends of mine like I normally do because when I sew it onto the sliders, I'm going to sew across. There's them. So there's our straps and our handles. Let's set our straps aside. We still need our handles because we're going to sew them on in just a second. I'm going to set them on over here. These pieces here, I'm going to open these up. I'm going to stick the join of your rectangle ring in, and then I'm going to sew up this side, over, and back down on both of these. If you feel like it's going to slide on you, you can add a piece of double-sided tape there, which I think it might. So I'm going to put a piece of tape. Just going to put it down the center. There you go. Oops. to join in. Probably don't need that big a piece, but it's better to be safe than sorry. That roll of tape was like $4. I'd rather use that $4 tape than that I get from way back. So now I'm going to very slowly, I'm going to sew up one side. The last couple of stitches I'm going to actually hand turn it so that my foot don't eat my leather. Actually, guys, I got this leather right here from Hobby Lobby. Yeah. And it's really pretty. I have my stitch length on 4. I'm going to slide this behind it here so that, nope, I need to go a piece of a stitch. There we go. So that it don't chew up my leather. Let's see here, it went too far that time. Just going to scoot it over. Yep, there we go. Very, very carefully. See what it did to the green vinyl there? It would have done that to my leather if I wouldn't have put that there. Burn these ends. Being careful, it's leather, you can melt it. And that's what you get. And I'm going to put a rivet. Okay, so let's do this with the other one. Stitch length back on 4. I'm going to crank the last one by hand. The scissors are getting dull. Get a piece of a stitch. There we go. That's what that looks like. So we don't need our pockets yet. We don't need this one yet. We need these two. We need our 2 slip pockets. The exterior slip pockets. So I have one in my lining fabric and one in the sunflowers that I absolutely love. We're going to sew this down. Alright, we're going to sew this down with a 3/8 seam allowance. Sorry, I had to check the pattern. I forgot. So I'm going to line that up on my 3/8. I'm going to sew, making sure the back stitch at the beginning and end. Open this up. Make sure your seam is right on the top, and then we're going to top stitch it. When I top stitch at 1/8 of an inch. Before we close this pocket up, I need to get a pocket piece. Yeah. Get your pocket piece. Make your mark. Doing this on the lining. Okay. And then I'm just going to stick the tips, the very little bit of tip just through the lining. So I'm going to open this up and I'm going to stick it just the smallest amount in there. Well, about that big. Stick your male end in. I've got a scrap piece of Decaville Light. I'm going to use that to protect it. Stick it on there. All that's going to do is stop the prongs from rubbing on the fabric and causing a hole. I also like to put a piece of tape over them. If I'm using fabric, I want a piece of tape over them like that. So now we're going to make this piece one whole piece, and I'm going to base stitch around. Base stitch basically means you're going to stitch within your seam allowance. Our seam allowance is 3/8 of an inch. So as long as you stitch this within the 3/8, you'll be good. Now this is one piece. So we just took two and made one. Let's do the same thing on this piece. This piece I also put a piece of Decaville Light on the back of it, just to give it a little structure. So now what I'm going to sew is I'm going to sew down here, around, and back up the point at 3. Oh, goodness gracious, that thing's strong. 3/8 of an inch. I'm going to put some clips on this one, I think. So basically we're going to do the same thing we just did a while ago. I'm going to start here, come around, and back up 3/8 of an inch. I'm going to have to move that. I can't do this with that on there. get the back stitch. Now I'm going to snip these corners. Actually, I'm going to get my inking shears. Snip this down. It's just going to allow it to lay a little nicer when we flip it up. Okay. I'm just going to move my seam to the top and clip it. I'll come over here, finger press my seam out, put it on the top, and clip it. I forgot to tell you, I moved my stitch length back to 2.5 when I sewed across the top of this. Now I'm going to top stitch. And I'm going to move mine to 4 to top stitch. At 1/8 of an inch. There's them two. So now we're going to take our pocket piece and I'm going to line it up in my piece like this. And I'm going to mark right where that snap, where the male part of that snap is. Right there. Now we need the female part of our snap in the washer. I'm going to lay the female part, the washer right over that hole. Mark your lines. Now this time I'm doing it on the sunflower piece. And I already have Decaville light on the back of this one, so I'm not going to worry about a piece of Decaville for that one. So get through, put your washer on. Exactly what I wanted to happen. Piece of tape over your prongs. Now I'm going to baste this closed. I'm going to snap my snap on there just to make sure. Okay, so now I'm going to baste this pocket down. Now this is one piece. Alright, so now we have this piece basted together with our snap pocket here. So now we're going to take our handle. You want to measure the difference between your handle and your strap. Your straps are 40 inches and your handles are 34 inches. Your handles are also the ones that you sewed the 3/8 on instead of the 1/8 of an inch. Okay, the pattern says find your center. So I did. I know you can't see this pin on this, but I can. So this is my center. And then it says measure 5 inches up and down from that mark. So 1/8 of an inch just right there down both sides. Alright, so I'm going to sew 1/8 of an inch down there. To this next mark. Let's see, do I want to turn and pivot? Let's turn and pivot. Okay. Now let's do that on the other one. Always put your needle down before you pivot. Needle down. Pivot. Now I need to go a piece of a stitch on that one. And move that back to 4. Alright. Alright, so the pattern says on your center, which is here. I'm going to go ahead and find my center on the top while I'm here. Okay. So I'm going to line my ruler up on the center mark and mark it just right here. Okay, now I'm going to go over 2 inches. So I'm going to turn it this way so I can see. I'm going to put my 2-inch line right there and right there. Okay. I'm going to take our handle, take my handle. Which one's this one? Okay, so I'm going to put double-sided tape down the middle of this. Doesn't have to be all the way. Okay, I'm going to put double-sided tape down the other side. Okay, so got my 2-inch line lined up. I'm going to take this off. Line it up at the bottom and stick it down. Okay, I have mine where the join, like where we folded it over and the 2 pieces here, are in the inside. So when we do the other side, it's going to fold over like that. I don't know why, it's just a preference. Okay, now it says to measure up 10 inches. So I have my 10 on the bottom. And I'm going to mark right here, which you can't really see, so I'm going to put a clip on the 10-inch part. Probably don't want to go up higher than 10 inches with a sticky tape. Now I'm having to take it off. Okay. I'll take it a little bit more off. Okay. So I'm going to measure up 10 inches. I'm going to put a clip. So then I know I don't sew past that. I'm going to take one of these and clip it at the bottom. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. I'm going to move this over, put my 2-inch line in the center. 2-inch line in the center there. Yep. Okay. And I go ahead and pull this off before I stick it down past the 10. Just so it's not in the seam allowance. So don't go up past 10 inches. Okay, there's the center. I'm going to lay this down up here. And I'm going to mark 10 inches up on that line from the bottom. 10 inches, and I'm going to put a mark. Okay? And I'm going to put one of these here just to hold it. So that's what it should look like. So now what we're going to do is we're going to sew 1/8 of an inch up, over, and down. up, over, and down on both of these. We're going to do 1/8 of an inch. Trying to get everything out of my way. You don't sew past the 10-inch line or clip or whatever. A piece of a stitch. There we go. Put your needle down, pivot, and then back on 4. So straight across. Needle down, pivot, and come down. Okay. Make sure you back stitch at the beginning and end. Why would we leave this part open? Okay, now we're going to do this side. We'll sew up this side, 1/8 of an inch. Up to your 10-inch line mark. There we go. I'm going to turn across, needle down, pivot, and sew back down. So that's what we have. Let me check the pattern and see why we have this part not sewn. Maybe I'm to put a rivet there or something. I don't know. Let me check the pattern real quick. Nope, it says okay. Alright, so that's supposed to be there, guys. Now it's saying put a rivet there. So let me see what color rivet I want to do. Let's do these to match the hardware. Yep. See if it tells you where to put it. Bring each side of the handle just above the stitching where you pivoted and secured it to the main panel, okay? Just above, don't hit the stitches. Gotcha. Make sure there's nothing under there. Just above. Don't hit the stitches, okay? Just eyeball it here, make sure they're kind of straight and centered where you want them. Alright. It's got some big heads on them, but I think they look good chunky like that. Okay, so there's our front panel. I'm going to use 1/8 of an inch. Just baste this on within our seam allowance. Okay, so right there. I'm going to back stitch over them straps. Okay. I think I'm just going to leave it there. So I'm going to add my nameplate and I'm going to put my B on and I'll be back. All right. Next, let's do back panel. Same way we did the front panel. So now we need to put on our handles and our handle connectors, strap connectors. So we need to get these. And the other one go like this. And our pattern piece. So on your pattern down here, it has the placement for your connectors. So I'm going to put it on here. Line them up. I want them pretty much going at that same angle. And while I'm right here, I'm going to baste them on, just so I don't have to worry about them. That one moved. All right. So now, while we have this out, let's go ahead and put these straps on. I'm going to take one end, line it up at that same angle. And I'm going to baste them on. back. So let's set that aside. Okay. Now what? Now what? The zipper. Okay. And the front, I love this little bee, he's so cute. So we have a slip pocket here, and we have a slip pocket there. So let's set that aside. These are slip pockets, inside slip pocket and inside zipper pocket. These are our gussets. These are our side pockets. And our lining. And our bias tape. Inside zipper. Okay. Okay, so let's see, do we do this like a recess zipper or do we not? So stitch across the ends so your zipper pull don't come off. So let's do that. It's a good idea. Do the 90-degree angles? Did you not? Okay. Okay. So we have our lining up, our zipper up. Let's baste this on. I don't think I'm going to baste it. I think I'm just going to add the other piece into it. Your outside piece face down. Line everything up. And sew a 1/4 of an inch. I think it actually says 3/8 of an inch, but I can't get 3/8 of an inch with my foot. And I'm not putting the zipper foot on. So I'm going to sew a 1/4, and if at the end I have to trim a little, then I'll trim a little. Okay. Let me move my stitch length down back to 3 or 2.5. What do you prefer? I prefer mine on 3. I'm going to open this up and I'm going to top stitch. Actually, let's put that back on 4. So now I'm just going to top stitch 1/8 of an inch. I'm just taking my fingers and pushing this down and out, making sure everything's flat. My zipper pulls out of the way. So pretty. Okay. Now let's do the other side. Same way. Lining piece face up, zipper face up, and you want to line everything up these sides here. Because I'm really loving this bag. Like the sunflowers. Okay, take your outside fabric, right side down. Quarter of an inch. Move it down. Move your zipper pulls. Move that back to 4. this at 1/8 of an inch. And I'm just going to sew around and baste all this together. We should have waited to see if I needed to trim anything before I basted it, but we'll see. So that's the outside, that's the inside. Let's get the gusset and see. Oh yeah, I need to trim. I'm gonna have to trim this to 4 inches because the seam allowance is 3/8, and I only did 1/4 of an inch when I sewed this on. So I'm gonna go trim this. I'll be right back. Alright, now we're 4 inches, and I'm going to baste down the sides again. Get this little bit of extra off I have here. So there's your zipper. And again, I did the double pull. Okay. Now what? Pockets. Okay, so we need our pocket pieces. And I'm guessing, looking at these, exactly. Okay, so you want to take one of these and pair them together, but you want right sides together. And so across the top and the bottom, 3/8. With 3/8. So 3/8 top and bottom. And then we're going to top stitch the top but not the bottom, okay? I'll move this back down to 2.5 inch stitch length. Got a feeling I'm fixing to be out of bobbin. Getting really curly. Okay, there's one. Right sides together. 3/8 inch seam allowance. I'm about out of bobbin. Trim these. Let's trim a little off of that. Does it say trim any? Does not. So let's not. Turn these right side out. And top stitch the top only. Move that back to a 4. That's what you got. This one outside out. and top stitch. Now it says take your gusset one and 1/4 from the short edge, place the top edge on. One and 1/4. Inches. Your gusset exterior and measure 1 1/4 inches from the short edge. Place the top edge of your side pocket along this marking. Okay. Place the short top edge against this marking. I'm gonna drop them all on the floor. I'm gonna stop and pick them up in a minute. All right. Put the bottom of the short side onto the gusset. Use 8 inch double side stick tape to hold in place if need. Top stitch along the bottom edge of the side pocket 1/8. Okay, 1/8 inch. Maybe I got enough of bobbin. Top stitch is on a 4. Alright, let's try that again. It got jammed. Eighth of an inch. Here we go. Okay. baste the 1/8 of an inch down the sides, okay? So basically just baste this on. Okay. Now that again. There's one side pocket. Oh, I missed that part. I didn't get that one. Sure, I'll catch it when I sew it again, but I want to get it all. Okay. Did you get it over there? Alright, so there's our pocket. And I guess then we need to do that to the other side. Repeat with the opposite side. Okay. So let's measure down 1 1/4. Top up on that line. At the bottom. Let's go ahead and baste the bottom. Pick up the top. Do the other side. And there's our second pocket. That's going to be really, really cute. All right. Okay. Take this, face down, go right sides, complete zipper panel and gusset exterior and add with added pocket and baste. Okay. Use the hair lining with the gusset zipper panel lining and stitch 3/8 inch. Okay. Do my top stitch afterwards. And press and top stitch. Yes. I'm going to sew that again because I sewed that with a big stitch seam allowance and I don't want to do it on 4. I'm going to do it on 2.5. Okay. And now I'm out of bobbin, so let me change that. I'll be back. Sorry, for some reason my camera didn't record. I just noticed it. So we added our slip pocket to this side. So all the way around, leave an opening, turn it right side out, poke your corners out, and then sew your remaining 3 sides with 1/4 of an inch. I mean 1/8 of an inch. So that's your slip pocket. Your zipper pocket, I measured 1 1/4 inches down, drew a line 3/8 from that line, and drew another line. So now I'm going to center my pocket piece on this piece that I've done found the center on. And let's see, does the pattern have where it wants you to go down? I'm just flying through this pattern, okay. 2.5 inches down from the main panel. Okay. The whole thing? No, I'm not putting it that far down. I'm going to put it right here. 2.5 down and centered. And then I'll put a slip pocket right there. There we go. So around your rectangle, I still have mine set on 2.5. Okay, so now you can take your X-Acto knife, your craft knife, your scissors, whatever you want to do. I'm just going to take my scissors this time, put a small little snip, cut up to within 1/2 inch from the edge, and then snip towards each corner You want to get pretty close to the corner, but you want to make sure you don't hit any of the stitches. Start within about a ½ inch and then turn and snip towards the corners. So that's what we have. So you have little triangle pieces in your corners. Okay, take your pocket piece and stick it through. And then just pull it out, finger press it. Just like that. If you want to, you can carry this to your iron. And press it. I'm not gonna. Take your zipper. Line it up in the window. Alright guys, I have no clue what happened to my camera. It just stopped working, so I'm just sewing along, and sorry, I didn't know that it had stopped working. So I went back and watched the video. So where I stopped off at is I was putting the zipper in the window, so then just sew all the way around it with a kind of small, maybe 2.5 stitch length, and then you have your pretty pocket. Okay, and then take that panel, the one with the zipper, in the back, lay them wrong sides together, clip it all the way around, and then just baste stitch all this around. Okay, so you have your straps attached, you have your handles attached, and you have your connectors down here attached to your back. Wrong sides together. Alright. So then set this one aside. And then I took the gusset piece and I laid the lining with the wrong sides together with the gusset piece, and I just basted down both sides, and I top stitched across here. So I just top stitched here and went all the way around, and then did it again on the other side. Okay, I clipped all my centers. Clipped the center of this, the center of this, the center of my panel. That this is my front panel, and this is the slip pocket part, and I have sewn it, basted it right, wrong sides together, all the way around. So now I'm going to pin in the gusset. So what I did was I matched my center here and I clipped it, and then I matched my center here and I clipped it, and then I've just pinned all the way around. So now I'm going to do the other side. Making sure you have your handle folded in. You don't want to catch it in your stitches. Okay, so let's get this here where you can see what I'm doing. Since it's a three-dimensional item, I'm going to hold it as such. I'm going to line them up, and I'm just going to push that in just like that to make it lay flat. All the way around. So again, what I'm going to do is push it in until it lays flat so that your gusset is round. And clip it. Excuse me. While you were gone, also, I went on a scavenger hunt for my clips that I'm out of. So that's where I'm going to start sewing at then. Let's check the pattern. I think it said 1/4 inch. But let's see. Yes, approximately 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay. I'm going to put my gusset side up. Take your time here. You really want to take your time. You want everything to be smooth and laid out because this is your lining and your outside all together. So I'm going to back stitch. Also too, you're going through a lot of layers. You want this to be nice and smooth and curvy around here, so get everything lined up in your fingers, nice and flat, and then just go around. Good. And we got one more side. Everything looks good, nice and smooth. Hope you can see that. Let's do this where you can see it. Oh yeah, everything looks really good in there. All the parts, really good. Alright, so now what? Open your package of pre-made bias tape and roll around 45 inches. Just going to take the whole thing out. sure I got enough to go around. You need about 45 inches all together. So yeah, you got enough to go around. Okay, so it says now open one end up, fold over wrong sides together a 1/2 inch and press. Okay. Fold it in 1/2 inch. I'm just going to finger press it here. This will be your starting end, it says. Starting in the bottom center gusset, main panel, clip the bias, tape in place, raw edges to raw edges. Quarter-inch seam allowance. With a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Oh, put this back so I can see. Alrighty, so I'm gonna line this up and sew it on with a 1/4 inch. This really doesn't have to be perfect right here, guys, because nobody's going to see it but you. All the thick layers I stitched off a little bit, so I'm going to take that back out. Okay. Maybe I will clip some. I'm going to clip it, but around this corner is a little bit tricky. This is my first time making this bag, so that's why I'm reading the directions. Okay. I'm going to do half of it and then we'll sew it and see how I can do the rest. Alright, let's see what we can do. That's a thick corner. I think it was a little easier to pin it. Oh, I stopped sewing right there. I think I didn't get too far. What happened to you? You just decided to malfunction. Just lining up the raw edges and clipping it every now and then. When you come to your end, I'm not gonna clip it just yet, just in case there's some extra. But when you get here, you want to just go over it some. Just continue on about a ½ inch or so. Okay. Let's start back right here where she broke at. Put it back in a hole. So I'm going to open this up. I'm going to come over about maybe overlapped an inch maybe, and cut it off. And then just keep sewing. Open it up and keep sewing. And give it a little back stitch where you start overlapping, and then a back stitch where you stop overlapping. Just to secure it a little more. Trim your tails. Okay, so that's what we have. We have it sewn to it, raw edges here, raw edges there. So now we're just going to take it and fold it back over it, just like so. And if you want to, you can flip and pin it, which I think I might, just in a couple of places. Just fold it back like it was. It should go around the corners quite nicely. And it does. Okay, right here, I'm going to leave where we overlapped it a little bit. I'm going to leave that to last, just in case I have to work something in. Whew. It's kind of bulky. I'm going to cut some of that bulk out of there. Yeah, that's better. Much more better. I'm going to keep going around. So it's folded once, and I'm folded over. Okay, so it's folded once, down, and then folded over. Alright, right here where we overlapped it, you just want to continue on with this one. Fold this one in and line it up. So that's what it looks like. Looks like I got a little gap right here, like a little slack. I'm going to put another pin right there, or clip. There we go. So that's what it looks like all the way around the bag. And then where it joins at, I don't know if you can see that. Right here where it joins. It's going to be at the bottom of the bag. Nobody's really ever going to see that. Okay, let's see what it says to do now. Okay. And at a 3/8 seam allowance this time. Let's say from the top or from the bottom. The gusset side down, it said. Okay, gusset side down, and I'm going to start down here at our bottom again. No, I'm not. I'm going to start a little bit past it, I think, just in case we got some extra. We can tuck it under. 3/8 inch seam allowance. So just pull this over, line it up, back stitch, It said just move your gusset out of the way as you go. So what I have is my hands in here, and I'm holding on to this gusset as I sew along, just kind of tugging just a little bit to make sure it's laying smooth. And then I have my fingers, like one of my fingers on the underside is right here, and this one's right here, so I can just hold everything so we don't get no puckers on the bottom with your gusset. That wouldn't be pretty. And then just sew to the end. I'm just gonna make sure everything's tucked in nicely. Just like that. And I'm gonna sew on. It's not perfect, but you know what? It doesn't have to be, because nobody's gonna see it. I do got some nesting right here. Ow. I don't know why, so let's clean this up a little bit. There we go. Much better. See, so when the bag is right side out, this is what it's going to look like. And nobody's going to see your binding. So that's what the outside looks like. And then that's what the inside's going to look like. And nobody's really going to see that or paid any attention. So I'm going to flip this back up, right side out or wrong side out. Okay. Just so that I don't catch this, I'm going to take one of these clips and clip it to my pocket. I'm going to fold this down and then just like clip it under there to the pocket to hold it. Like that. Okay. We need them. Alright, so now we're going to get the back of the bag with all the straps, and we're going to pin it to this. So you take all this upside down, so you want wrong sides together, making sure everything's in the bag. And I have all my centers already clipped, so I'm going to line them up. Here's one. This is the last big major seam other than putting the binding on, and you'll have your bag made. Okay, I hope you can see right here at this corner. Let me turn it around like this so you can see. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, well, let me get there. Where the strap is at, you want to double reinforce that, like go back and forth. So I'm just going to go a couple on either side of the bottom, like that. And then I'm going to come up here to this, make sure everything is tucked in. All the flaps and straps and everything. Mark the centers, line them up, and clip. And I'm going to clip on either side of these straps, pretty close to them, so that they can be reinforced. I kind of know where they're at if I clip on either side of them. You can feel them with your hand, but all right. So now what I'm going to do is, if you'll look at this corner, I'm just going to make it like that. I'm going to make it dimensional. So it's three-dimensional. It wants to lay that way anyway, so just kind of tuck it in. And then continue on around. This pocket, on the outside pocket here, you want to push all your extra down to the other side so it don't get caught. And then clip on. Okay, here we are coming up in this other corner. I'm just gonna make it be three-dimensional, just like that. So I just kind of took my thumbs and fingers and just went and tucked it in. And it went just as pretty as you wanted it to. Okay. Now we have this side to do. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make it dimensional. And being as we basted all of our layers together, we don't have to worry about anything slipping because we're sewing one piece to one piece. Everything's sewed together as one. I know you had to sew around it a couple of times, but all right, I'm coming up on the last corner, so I'm going to turn it like this. Take my thumbs and my knuckles, just these, and just kind of work it in. Make it behave. And clip it in. Alright. Now did we sew this? Yes, we sewed this side, gets it up. Alright, so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to start at the bottom. It's the flat side, so it seems like it'd be the better choice. I'm going to remove a clip and stick it in. 1/4 of an inch this time. So don't be scared to bend your bag out of the way. All this. Because you're going to have to. Bend all this out of the way. Okay, I'm coming up on my first strap connector. I'm just going to reinforce it. Go back and forth over it a couple of times and reinforce it. There we go. And then just sew around your corner. Or curve of your corner. Not really a corner. There's also a connector in the corner, so I'm going to just V off to it a little bit, back and forth, and then line back up my 1/4 of an inch. And keep going. Here's where the first pocket piece is, so I'm just going to back stitch over that. You can feel all the pieces if you just run your finger down it. we're coming up on a strap. Okay, so now I'm going to back up and forth across it, reinforcing that. I don't want it to pull out of the bag. So crossed. Now I'm at the other strap, and I'm going to do the same thing, back and forth. One more time. There we go. Okay, I'm at that first pocket piece again, and I'm just going to back and forth over that a couple of times. Whew. I'm going to readjust this corner a little bit, so I'm going to put my needle down, lift my foot, kind of readjust all this. All right, so we got a corner piece, a corner connector coming up right here. So I'm going to put the foot down. I'm going to reinforce that. Okay. And then I'm going to put my needle down. There we go. I had like a little bump there I wanted to get out. Almost to the end. All right. That's it. I'm just making sure everything got caught good around there. I'm gonna open my zipper just cause I gotta turn it through there, so it needs to be open. I need to get my binding, and it said a 1/2 inch. Is that correct? Long sides together, 1/2 inch, and press. Yes. Okay. I'm gonna open it up all the way. I'm gonna fold it in some. Finger press it. Again, I'm gonna start at the bottom. And I'm gonna clip it again. I'm gonna trim off some of this bulk in the corner there. I got a trash can right there, guys. Don't think I'm throwing anything in the floor. And go around. Well, I'm not saying it all hit the trash can. I'm just saying there's bin there. There's a trash can. Okay. There's a little piece sticking out here. I'm just gonna snip that off. It's a piece of leather or faux leather, and I didn't want it to be catching on the binding. Top. And now I'm back around to the bottom. Okay, I'm just going to overlap it some and cut it off. So out of that one package that had 3 yards in it, this is what I have left. Around 20 inches. Okay, now I'm going to stitch this down with 1/4 inch. Might be a good idea to do a bobbin check before you start this, or make sure you had a full one or any of that. I do have my machine on 2.5 inch stitch length. I'm coming up on the connectors. I'm going to back stitch on them just to make sure they're good and caught. They shouldn't come out because we tacked them down a while ago, but just in case. Coming up on the last corner or curve. There we go. And then just continue. I'm just going to kind of peek in here and make sure that everything is nice, and on my finger make sure everything's good and caught. And it seems to be. Alright, tuck everything back in. Get in there. Fold it over once and then bring it to the back. I'm just going to skip this bit here where it's joined at and then continue on, so that when we get around to the other side, if there's any slack, we can scoot it in. Which there wasn't on the other side, so maybe there won't be on this one. smart. It says so, guess it's side down. I'm going to start just a little past where that's it. And then just kind of roll the bag around. It says 3/8 seam allowance on this one. I have my hand over here just pulling the gusset out and the other side of the bag away. So you don't get none of your handles or straps or anything. I need to straighten up a little bit. When I showed, it kind of slipped off my seam allowance, so I'm gonna clip all them and readjust. Okay, and get back in there and sew this last little bit on. Alright guys, we got the straps and we'll be done. Alright, this bag is super cute. Let's turn it out. Okay, get all these straps and handles and all that out of there, and then I'm going to reach into the bottom and hope that everything's like it should be and turn her right side out. Get in there. Oh, that looks good. So pretty. All right. There's some some really thick bulk right here, but I think eventually when you fill it up, it should lay flat there. Pockets look good. And a couple of strings coming out the other side here. I'm just folding it out and pressing against that seam, making it lay good and flat. All right, let's look on the inside. Right over here where you can see on the inside, you can see the binding in there. It's not perfect, but nobody's going to notice. All you're doing is hiding the raw edges. Okay. Now we only have the straps. Oh, that's so cute. I love this little bee. Oh yeah, that's really cute. All right, so let's put our sliders on. All right, guys, so what the instructions say to do, I've already got one strap done. Really pretty. Okay, the instructions say with your handle flat, straight coming out back here, you want to stick it through your slider and back through your slider. Give yourself some room. Okay. Then you want to go up your bottom connector and then back through your slider, so you're coming back through the middle, and then fold it back down through the slider pull again. So you're just going through through that slider loop. Okay, so like that, and then stitch across here. So let me show you that again. Let me get mine out. It was very confusing to me. I had to read the instructions and read the instructions and read them and read them and read them. Okay, so coming out, straight out of your pocket, the top of your bag, stick it through the top of your slider, bring it around, stick it through the bottom of your slider. Okay, from here, take your clasp. Now you've not twisted it, it's still going straight out of here, okay? So go down here and back up, and then if you kind of push this away some, you want to go back down this slider pole here on the back side, okay, see I have it here. Now I'm going to turn it and go back up the front side. There we go, we got it now. Get in there. Okay. And before I see that I'm doing everything right, I'm gonna check and make sure, and I am correct. You want to stitch these two pieces together. Not the two pieces that slide, not the two outside pieces, the two inside pieces. Let me get up here some so I can show you. So you don't want these two pieces stitched together. You want these two pieces stitched. Okay, so I'm going to give myself another little push so I can get some wiggle room in here because I don't want to waste that much. So I'm going to push some of that in there. So you have about an inch or so here. Again, you don't want to catch these two, you just want to catch these two pieces right here. These are the outside, these are the inside. So stick it under your foot and sew across. You can put a rivet in it if you want, but nobody's going to see this. So I stitch back and forth 2 or 3 times just to make sure it's good and secure. Trim your threads off. Get a little bird's nest back there because I didn't hold my stitches, but really nobody's going to see that. And I'm going to fix it anyway. Clean it up some. It's right here in front of my face. There we go. Alrighty. So we get these up where they're even. There we go. So there's your bag. This is your back. Let me get this cleaned off and I will stick it up here and show you. Look how pretty. Absolutely beautiful. And then if you open it up and look on the inside, that's what get some light over here. That's what the inside looks like. You have your zipper pocket on this side. You have a slip pocket on that side. I'm going to take some pictures of the inside and out and post them in the beginning of this video. I hope you try this bag. Aura Rosa patterns, and it's the Zenaida backpack. I really hope you give this bag a try, guys. It is absolutely adorable. I really feel like with school starting back, this is a good size bag for them. You could do this in like mermaid or llama or unicorn or anything like that, and I think that would be a beautiful bag for children. For the more adulty ones, like teenagey size, the sunflowers are pretty, or even you can do roses and flowers, and I think it's very pretty. All right, I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye.